Hello, welcome. Before we begin, if you enjoy deep, honest documentaries about space and reality, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Projects like take a huge amount of work, and your support makes them possible. Throughout this video, I'll hide a few words. If you catch them and write them in the comments, I'll personally like your comment. Now let's get to the point. The universe is not dying in the future. It is dying right now. Every star you see is already in the past. Every galaxy is a delayed image. What we observe is not reality, it is the aftermath. In this documentary, we will uncover why the universe began dying almost from the moment it was born, why most of it is already unreachable forever, and why everything we see in the night sky is a memory. No speculation, no fantasy, only physics. Let's begin. The moment the universe began to die. To understand why the universe is already dying, we need to abandon one comforting idea. The idea that decay comes at the end. It doesn't. In reality, the universe began dying almost immediately after it was born. Not because something went wrong, not because of a catastrophe, but because the laws of physics allow creation only once and loss forever. The birth, the ending. The Big Bang is often described as a beginning, a moment of pure creation. Energy, space, time, matter, all appearing at once. But that description hides a critical detail. The Big Bang was not just the start of structure. It was the start of irreversibility. From the very first fraction of a second, the universe was placed on a one-way path. Entropy began increasing immediately. This is not poetic language. This is the second law of thermodynamics. In any closed system, usable energy decreases over time. Order becomes disorder. Gradients flatten. Differences disappear. The universe is the largest closed system possible, which means the universe has been losing usable energy since its first moment. Creation requires imbalance. Everything interesting in the universe exists because of imbalance. Stars shine because their cores are hotter than their surroundings. Planets form because matter clumps instead of spreading evenly. Life exists because energy flows from high concentration to low, but imbalance has a cost. The act of creating structure consumes the very conditions that allow structure to exist. A star is not a permanent object. It is a process of burning through stored energy. The moment a star ignites, it begins counting down to extinction. And this is true at every scale. The early universe burned fast. Shortly after the Big Bang, the universe was hot, dense, and energetic. This was the only era when the universe could easily create new structure. Matter condensed rapidly. Particles combined. Hydrogen and helium formed. The first seeds of stars appeared. But even here, loss was already happening. Energy was spreading out. Space was expanding. Temperature was dropping. The universe was cooling. And cooling is another word for dying. Expansion is not neutral. As space expands, energy does not disappear, but it becomes diluted. Imagine spreading a fixed amount of heat over an ever-growing area. The total energy remains, but the ability to do work fades. This is exactly what cosmic expansion does. Every second, space stretches. Every stretch makes energy less useful. Every moment makes it harder for new structure to form. The universe is not running out of energy. It is running out of accessible energy. Why this matters. A universe can be full of energy and still be dead. Because stars' chemistry and complexity require gradients. They require differences. And expansion relentlessly erases differences. This is why the universe has a direction in time, not because time wants to move forward, but because energy can only spread out, never reconcentrate globally. The arrow that never reverses. On small scales, order can increase. You can build a city, you can cool a room, you can organize information. But all of these actions increase disorder somewhere else. The total balance always favors entropy. The universe keeps score perfectly and never forgives. The hidden. Here is the first hidden word. Amber. Remember it. Do not write it yet. Just remember it. The universe never promised permanence. From the beginning, The universe was designed, not by intention, but by law, to transition from hot to cold, dense to empty, active to inert. Stars were always temporary. Galaxies were always fragile. Life was always living on borrowed time. The difference between now and the far future is not the direction, only the degree. Why this feels counterintuitive. Human experience evolved inside a brief, special era. An era when stars are common, when galaxies are bright, when energy gradients are strong enough to support complexity. This era is normal to us, but cosmologically, it is rare. We exist during the universe's energetic youth, already past its peak, but not yet visibly exhausted, which creates an illusion. The illusion things will continue as they are. Physics disagrees. The quiet beginning of the end. There was no single moment when the universe crossed from alive to dying. Because the universe was never alive in the way we imagine. It was always transitioning from possibility to exhaustion, from structure to smoothness, from fire to ash. And everything we see today, every star, every planet, every civilization, exists inside that long fading process. In the next part, we will confront a disturbing truth. Even the light reaching your eyes right now is lying to you, not intentionally, but inevitably, because the universe does not let you see the present. It only lets you see is already gone. That is where the idea of the aftermath truly begins. To never see the universe as it is. There is a lie built into reality itself. Not a malicious lie, not an intentional one, a structural lie. You have never seen the universe as it exists now. Not once, not ever. Everything you have ever observed in the sky is already gone. Light is a delay, not a window. Light, immediate. You flip a switch. The room brightens, cause and effect seem instant. This trains the brain to assume that seeing equals knowing. On cosmic scales, this assumption collapses. Light has a finite speed. It is fast by human standards. It is painfully slow by universal ones. Every photon is a messenger that left long ago. The farther it traveled, the older the message. The night sky is a graveyard of moments. The moon you see is 1 second old. The sun is 8 minutes old. The nearest stars are years old. Distant galaxies are millions or billions of years old. When you look at a galaxy 10 billion light years away, you are not seeing it. You are seeing what it was 10 billion years ago. That galaxy may already be dead, its stars extinguished, its structure torn apart, but the light is still arriving, like a letter delivered long after the sender died. The deeper you look, the older reality becomes. Modern telescopes allow us to see further than ever before, and every increase in power pushes us deeper into the past. The James Webb Space Telescope does not show us the modern universe. It shows us the young universe, a universe full of formation, violence, and raw energy. This is not because the universe was better then. It is because light from later eras has not arrived yet. The illusion of abundance. The sky looks full. Stars everywhere, galaxies everywhere, structure everywhere. This creates a dangerous intuition that the universe is rich, that it is active, that it is endlessly productive. In reality, most star formation peaked billions of years ago. The universe today, quieter than it looks, and get quieter. The cosmic slowdown. There was a time stars were born at a furious rate. Massive stars, short-lived stars, violent stars. That era is over. The universe has been forming fewer stars per year for billions of years. Gas is being locked away. Fuel is being consumed. Opportunities for creation are shrinking. But when you look up, you still see the glow of that energetic past. Because light takes time to tell the truth. We live inside a delayed universe. This creates a profound problem. We cannot directly observe the present state of the universe. We can only, if mathematically, the universe we see is younger than the universe we live in. Every observation is an archaeological act. Astronomy is not exploration, it is excavation. The second hidden word here It's the second hidden word. Ekyo. Remember it. Again, do not write it yet. Why this delay matters emotionally. This delay, false hope. It tricks intelligence into believing that abundance still exists everywhere. It encourages dreams of expansion, colonization, exploration, interstellar empires, but these dreams on outdated information. They rely on light from an era when the universe was more cooperative. The universe has changed since then. We just have not finished seeing how. The asymmetry of loss. Creation is brief, decay is long. A star forms in millions of years. It may shine for billions. Its death is fast, its remains linger, but the light of its life travels on. Long after the processes that sustained it are gone, the universe keeps showing us its youth while living out its old age. The problem of planning with fossils. Imagine planning your future based entirely on photographs from centuries ago. You would misjudge resources. You would misjudge stability. You would misjudge risk. This is exactly what civilizations do when they imagine the cosmic future. We plan expansion based on an image of the universe that no longer exists. The universe is not lying on purpose. Physics does not deceive. It simply does not care about perception. Light moves at its speed. Time unfolds as it must. Reality does not wait for observers. The consequence is unavoidable. Oh, it's late. Why the aftermath matters. The title of this documentary is not metaphorical. We are watching the aftermath of processes that peaked long ago. The golden age of the universe is behind us. We exist in the long cooling, the thinning, the long quiet. And we only know this because physics lets us reconstruct what we cannot see directly. The emotional shock has not happened yet. Human culture has not absorbed this truth. We still talk about the future as expansion, growth, as outward conquest, but the universe we actually inhabit does not support those assumptions. We are living inside the glow of a dying fire, and mistaking it for a bonfire still being fed, a subtle cruelty. The universe lets us see beauty long after it comes unreachable. It allows memory without access, knowledge without action, understanding without power. This, not kindness, it, indifference. Where leads next? In the next part, we will confront something even more unsettling. Not only is the universe dying, not only are we seeing its past, but large portions of it are already gone forever. Not dead, not destroyed, simply unreachable. And no future technology will change. Most of the universe is already lost forever. There is a boundary. You right now. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. You will never reach it. But it exists. And it is quiet, deleting the universe. The invisible wall. When people imagine limits in space, they imagine distance. A faraway star. A distant galaxy. Something difficult, but theoretically reachable. This intuition is wrong. The real limit of the universe is not distance. It is causality. There are regions of space that are not just far away. They are permanently disconnected from us. Not someday. Already. Expansion. The rules. Space is not an empty stage where galaxies move like actors. Space itself is dynamic. It stretches. And as it stretches, it carries galaxies with it. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster space expands between you and it. This leads to a disturbing consequence. Beyond a certain distance, space expands faster than light can cross it. Light emitted from those regions today will never reach us. Not in billions of years, not in trillions, never. The cosmic horizon. This boundary, called the cosmic event horizon. Everything beyond it is causally disconnected. It still exists. It still contains matter. It still contains stars and planets and perhaps life. But it no longer belongs to our future. No signal from there can ever reach us again. No ship can ever arrive. No message can ever be exchanged. The universe is larger than the observable universe. but only the observable part is real to us. Loss without destruction. This is not annihilation. Nothing explodes. Nothing collapses. The universe is not violently destroyed. It is simply from relevance. Galaxies fade as their light redshifts. They dim. They stretch. They disappear. Not because they die, but because space carries them away faster than causality allows. We are watching disappearance in real time. Every second, more galaxies cross the horizon. They pass a point of no return. After that moment, they are gone forever. No future civilization, no matter how advanced, will ever know they existed. Not because records were lost, but because physics forbids the information from arriving. The third hidden word. Here is the third hidden word. Remember it. The shrinking Earth's paradox. The universe is expanding, yet our accessible universe is shrinking. This sounds contradictory, but it is not. As expansion accelerates, fewer regions remain connected. Over time, gravity keeps local structures together. Galaxy clusters remain bound. Everything else is lost. In the far future, the observable universe will contain only one island of matter. Everything beyond it will be gone. The future night sky. Imagine a civilization trillions of years from now. They look up. They see only their own galaxy. No cosmic background radiation. No distant galaxies. No evidence of a Big Bang. The universe will appear static, eternal, empty. They will conclude that they are alone. It will be wrong, but be no way to prove it. Expansion is stronger than ambition. No engine can outrun expanding space beyond the horizon. Even a ship moving arbitrarily close to the speed of light fails, because the problem is not speed. The problem, geometry. You cannot chase a destination that is being carried away faster than the information can travel. This is not a technological problem. It is a structural one. Why this kills empires. Science fiction imagines interstellar civilizations spreading across galaxies. Reality forbids this. Not because ships are too slow, not because fuel is scarce, but because synchronization is impossible. Communication delays become absolute separation. Coordination collapses. Empires require shared causality. The universe does not allow it at scale. The universe deletes its own map. There will never be a complete map of the universe, because by the time you observe a region, others are already gone. Exploration cannot keep up with expansion. The universe changes faster than it can be cataloged. This is not chaos. It is stability. Why this feels unfair. Human intuition expects fairness. If something exists, it should be reachable. If something happens, it should be observable. Physics does not care. Reality does not guarantee access. It only guarantees consistency, the quiet erasure of futures. Every galaxy that crosses the horizon takes its future with it. Potential civilizations, potential histories, potential intelligence, all erased. Interaction. Killed. Isolated. Forever. The trap tightens. Combine what we now know. We see only the past. Most of the universe is already unreachable. The accessible region is shrinking, the universe not opening. It is closing. And inside, the emotional cost we have not paid yet. Human culture still speaks of infinite futures, of endless expansion, of destiny among the stars. These ideas were born when we did not understand cosmic horizons. They persist because their implications are uncomfortable. The universe does not promise an open frontier. It promises isolation. Comes next. In the next part, we will confront a deeper cruelty. Even inside the shrinking universe that remains accessible, time itself fractures connection. Relativity does not just slow clocks. It destroys shared history. And once shared time is gone, civilization follows. Time itself is breaking the universe apart. Distance isolates regions of space. Expansion removes destinations. But time does something even worse. It destroys simultaneity. And once simultaneity is gone, shared reality collapses. The illusion of universal time. Every day, life trains us to believe that time is shared. One moment, now one present. We assume that when something happens now, it happens for everyone. Physics says otherwise. There is no universal present. There is no single clock that defines reality. Time depends on motion, time depends on gravity. And at cosmic scales, these dependencies tear history apart. Relativity is not subtle. At human speeds, relativistic effects are small. So small that ignorable. But small is not zero. Clocks on satellites tick differently than clocks on Earth. GPS systems must correct for time distortion constantly. Without those corrections, navigation fails within minutes. Relativity is already shaping your daily life. We just hide it behind software. Time fractures at high speed. As velocity increases, time slows. Not metaphorically, not perceptually, physically. For an object moving close to the speed of light, time passes dramatically slower than for a stationary observer. This is not theoretical. It has repeatedly. The universe enforces it with perfect consistency. The price of going fast. Imagine a spacecraft traveling to another star at extreme speed. For the crew, the journey feels short. Years pass. They slowly. But for the rest of the universe, decades or centuries pass. When the ship arrives, it arrives in the future. Not future. A future disconnected from the era it left. Travel becomes exile. This is the part most stories ignore. Interstellar travel is not exploration. It is temporal exile. Travelers do not just leave space behind. They leave their time. Their civilization evolves without them. Their language shifts. Their culture transforms. If they return, they do not come home. They arrive as relics. Shared history cannot survive this. Civilizations require synchronization. Shared events, shared memory, shared cause and effect. Relativity destroys this at scale. A colony light years away cannot act in step with its origin world. Decisions arrive late. Warnings arrive too late. Coordination becomes impossible. There is no authority. There is no dared now. Time dilation compounds isolation. Distance delays signals. Expansion deletes regions. Relativity desynchronizes clocks. Each effect alone is survivable. Together, they form a closed system. A civilization cannot remain unified across stars. Not because of politics, not because of will, because forbids it. The fourth hidden word. Here, hidden word. X. Remember it. Why this matters more than travel. Most people focus on propulsion. Faster engines, more efficient fuel. But propulsion does not fix time. You can shorten subjective travel time. You cannot preserve shared reality. The faster you go, the more violently you sever connection. Speed becomes self-defeating. The universe punishes ambition quietly. There is no explosion when simultaneity breaks. Warning. Just gradual relevance. Messages arrive too late to matter. Decisions lose context. Coordination decays. Civilizations drift apart not in space, but in time. The myth of reunion. Stories love reunions. Explorers return. Heroes come home. Everything reconnects. Reality does not allow this. Once timelines diverge far enough, reunion is impossible. Even if bodies meet again, histories do not. The people who left no longer belong. Why empires? Cosmically. Empires require rapid communication, coordinated response, shared urgency. Relativity removes all three. No technology restores simultaneity. No intelligence bypasses causality. The universe, not scalable. The quiet erasure of continuity. From the inside, process feels slow. From the outside, it is absolute. Time breaks the universe into isolated timelines, each moving alone, each unable to synchronize, each fading at its own pace. The universe fragments without violence. This is pattern emerging, not destruction, not collapse, but fragmentation. Space fragments regions, time fragments histories, expansion fragments futures. The universe does not end with a bang. It ends disconnection. This leads. In the next part, we confront a deeper reality. Even if distance, expansion, and time did not isolate us, energy itself disappearing, not vanishing, becoming unusable. And once usable energy runs out, complexity cannot survive. Not life, not intelligence, not memory. The universe is running out of usable energy. Even if distance did not isolate us, even if expansion stood still, even if time remained shared, there would still a final barrier. Energy. Not the kind you imagine. Not fuel tanks. Not power plants. But usable energy, the only kind that allows complexity to exist. Energy does not disappear, it degrades. A common misunderstanding is that the universe is running out of energy. It is not. Total energy is conserved. What is disappearing is order. Energy spreads out, differences flatten, gradients vanish, and without gradients, nothing happens. No stars ignite, no chemistry proceeds, no life persists. A universe can be full of energy and completely dead. The meaning, entropy. Entropy, often described as disorder. This is misleading. Entropy, the measure of how evenly energy is distributed. The more evenly spread it is, the less useful it becomes. A battery works because energy is unevenly stored. A star shines because its core is hotter than space around it. When everything reaches the same temperature, nothing can happen. That state, called thermal equilibrium, and the universe is moving toward it relentlessly. The arrow cannot be reversed. Entropy always increases globally. Local pockets of order can form, but only by increasing disorder elsewhere. This is not in physics. It is the foundation of time itself. Time moves forward because entropy increases. If entropy stopped increasing, time would lose direction. Stars are entropy engines. A star is not a source of energy. It is a machine, destroys gradients. It takes concentrated nuclear fuel and converts it into diffuse radiation. Every second a star shines, it moves the universe closer to equilibrium. Stars, beautiful. They are also accelerators of cosmic death. The peak has already passed. The universe once formed stars rapidly. That era is over. Star formation peaked billions of years ago and has been declining ever since. Gas is locked into dead stars. Matter is scattered. Fuel is becoming inaccessible. The universe is aging, and like all aging systems, it becomes less capable of complex activity. The slow starvation of galaxies. Galaxies do not suddenly die. They starve. Gas clouds thin out. Collisions become rare. Star birth slows. Eventually, galaxies become collections of long-lived red stars and stellar remnants. White dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes. Drama. Just silence. Intelligence depends on energy flow. Every thought you have is pi energy gradients. Every neuron fires because ions move from high concentration to low. No gradient, no thought. Civilizations require enormous energy flows. Agriculture, industry, computation. As usable energy declines, complex systems become harder to maintain. Not impossible, first. Just fragile. The illusion of infinite efficiency. Some argue that intelligence will simply become more efficient. That better technology solves energy limits. This misunderstands entropy. Efficiency delays exhaustion. It does not prevent it. Even perfect efficiency cannot create gradients where none exist. When the universe flattens, no optimization revives it. The fifth hidden word. Here is the hidden word. ASH. Remember it. The long future is quiet, not violent. The popular image of cosmic death involves explosions. Stars detonating, galaxies colliding, fire everywhere. Reality is colder. Stars fade, light redshifts, Heat spreads thin. The universe does not scream. It whispers, then falls silent. Black holes do not save complexity. Black holes seem powerful. They are also entry machines. They store enormous entropy and eventually evaporate, very slowly, very quietly. When they are gone, the universe becomes even simpler. The heat death, not an event. Heat death is not a moment. It is condition, a state where no meaningful processes remain. No engines can run. No chemistry can proceed. No memory can persist. It's not destruction. It is final uniformity. Why this is happening? Heat death is not waiting at the end of time. The process began at the beginning. Every star that ever shone, every thought, every action ever taken, pushed the universe closer, equilibrium. The universe has been dying since it was born. The emotional mistake we make. We imagine death as sudden. Physics prefers gradual. By the time the end is obvious, it is long past preventable. The universe does not collapse. Fades. Window. We live in a narrow era. After structure formed, but before it became unsustainable. An era where stars exist, energy flows, complexity is possible. This window is finite. It is closing. What this means for the future. Even if intelligence survives locally, it does so in a shrinking energetic budget. Fewer options, fewer mistakes allowed, more fragility. Eventually, no amount of intelligence compensates for missing gradients. Where leads next? In the next part, we will confront an uncomfortable truth. Even before energy fully runs out, complexity itself becomes unstable. Systems break down not because of disaster, because maintaining order becomes too costly. And once complexity fails, complexity fails long before the universe ends. There is a mistake we keep making when we imagine the death of the universe. We imagine ending at once. Stars go dark, energy runs out, nothing moves. But reality is far dramatic. Complexity fails long before the universe becomes empty. And when complexity fails, intelligence cannot survive, even if some energy still exists. Complexity is expensive. Order, not natural. It must be maintained. Every complex system fights entropy constantly. Cells repair themselves. Ecosystems balance flows. Civilizations maintain infrastructure. The more complex the system, the more energy it consumes just to stay functional. Complexity is not stable by default. It is bar order. Maintenance is creation. In young systems, creation dominates. New stars form faster than old ones die. New structures emerge faster than old ones decay. In aging systems, maintenance dominates. Most energy is spent preventing collapse rather than creating anything new. This is the first warning sign. When a civilization spends more energy maintaining itself than in itself, decline begins. Not suddenly, gradually, quietly. The universe follows the same rule. The universe once created structure easily. Galaxies formed. Stars ignited. Elements were forged. Today is rare. Maintenance is everything. Stars burn long-stored fuel. Planets retain heat. Life survives by recycling limited resources. The universe is no longer building. It's coasting. Fragility increases over time. As usable energy declines, complex systems become brittle. They tolerate fewer errors. They recover more slowly. They fail more catastrophically. This applies to stars near fuel exhaustion, ecosystems under stress, civilizations under energy constraints. The more aged the system, the less forgiving it becomes. Why collapse does not look dramatic? Collapse is often imagined as explosive. In reality, most collapses are administrative. Infrastructure fails. Redundancy disappears. Recovery times increase. Then, small problem triggers a cascade, not because the problem is large, but because the system is exhausted. Intelligence requires excess. Thinking is not free. Memory requires energy. Learning requires energy. Creativity requires energy. Intelligence thrives only when energy is abundant enough to waste. When energy becomes scarce, intelligence narrows. It optimizes, it conserves, it stops experimenting. Eventually, curiosity becomes dangerous. The universe discourages innovation over time. In a young universe, mistakes are survivable. In an old universe, mistakes are fatal. This pushes intelligence toward caution, conservatism, preservation, not exploration, risk. Boldness, the sixth hidden word. Here is the sixth hidden word. Fragile. Remember it. Why complexity collapses before energy runs out. Even when energy exists, it may not be accessible fast enough. Power matters. A trickle of energy over billions of years is useless to a complex system that needs bursts. This is why a dying star cannot support life, even if it still emits light. The rate of energy flow matters more than the total amount. As the universe ages, power density drops. Systems starve in slow motion. Local survival does not scale. Some argue intelligence will retreat into smaller, more efficient forms. Local computation, minimal physical presence. This may delay extinction. It does not reverse the trend. Smaller systems are easier to sustain, but harder to repair. Once a critical failure occurs, there is no surplus energy to recover. The tyranny of upkeep. Eventually, all effort goes into preventing failure. No growth, no expansion, no new structure. Just endless stabilization. This, not life. It is postponement. Why intelligence cannot wait forever. There is no pause button on entropy. Every moment spent maintaining is a moment not spent creating. Eventually, maintenance itself fails. Dramatically, system by system, the universe does not kill complexity. This important. The universe does not actively destroy complexity. It simply stops supporting it. Like a climate slowly cooling until a species can no longer survive. No enemy, no event, just incompatibility. The silent threshold. There is a point where intelligence becomes impossible, not because atoms disappear, but because no stable structure can persist long enough to support thought. We do not know exactly where this threshold lies, but physics tells us it exists. The uncomfortable implication. This means intelligence has a time window, not infinite, not repeatable. Once complexity falls below a certain level, no intelligence can re-emerge. Not because of ignorance, because of insufficient gradients. We are early, not late. Humanity exists early in the universe's timeline, closer to the era of formation than to equilibrium. This feels normal to us. It is not. We are living during a brief exception, where this leads next. In the next part, we confront a disturbing realization. If complexity inevitably collapses, then intelligence everywhere faces the same fate, which raises a terrifying question. If intelligent life is common, why do we see no evidence of others? The answer is darker than silence. Why? The universe may be of dead civilizations. At this stage, a question becomes unavoidable. If the universe is vast, if stars are common, if planets are everywhere, then is everyone? This question has a name, but names make it feel safer than it is. The reality behind is not mysterious. It is predictable. The expectation that fails. For a long time, scientists assumed a simple logic. If life appears easily and intelligence evolves occasionally, then civilizations should spread. They should leave traces. They should reshape their surroundings. They should be visible. We see of this. The silence is not subtle. It is overwhelming. The common explanation feels comforting. The usual explanations try to protect optimism. Life is rare. Intelligence is rare. We are special. These ideas, good. They preserve the dream that expansion is still possible. But physics suggests a harsher answer. Intelligence may be common, survival is not. The universe does not prevent intelligence from appearing, it prevents it from lasting. Every civilization faces the same barriers. Limited energy increasing entropy isolation by expansion time desynchronization. None of these require catastrophe. They simply require time. Civilizations do not explode, they fade. Popular imagination loves disasters. Asteroids, wars, supernovae. Reality prefers erosion. Civilizations likely peak, stabilize, and then contract. Not dramatically. Administratively, budgets tighten. Infrastructure ages. Maintenance replaces ambition. Eventually, outsignals stop. Why silence does not mean absence. A civilization does not need to vanish completely to become invisible. It only needs to broadcasting, or expanding, or retreat inward. The universe is very good at hiding quiet things. The cost being loud. Broadcasting into space costs energy. Maintaining beacons costs energy. Expansion costs enormous energy. As usable energy declines, civilizations optimize. The first thing to go is excess. The second is visibility. Silence is not death. It is efficiency. The window of detectability is tiny. A civilization may exist for millions of years, but it may only be detectable for a few thousand. A brief technological adolescence between invention and optimization. After that, signals fade. Structures decay. The universe swallows evidence quickly. The seventh hidden word. Here is seventh hidden word. Quieties. Remember it. Expansion selects against visibility. Any civilization that tries to expand aggressively pays a price. Energy is diverted from stability. Errors increase. Risk compounds. The universe punishes overextension. Civilizations that survive longest are likely conservative, local, efficient, invisible. The galaxy could be full of ruins. Not ruins, not structures, but dead habitats, inactive probes, cold remnants, spread thin, unpowered, indistinguishable from natural debris. Time erases signatures faster than we expect. Why megastructures are unlikely? Dyson spheres sound plausible in theory. In practice, they require immense construction, continuous maintenance, perfect coordination, all of which degrade over time. Entropy attacks complexity relentlessly. A megastructure without maintenance becomes debris, and debris looks like dust. The universe, minimalism. Physics rewards simplicity. Complexity must justify its cost every second. Eventually, the cost wins. Civilizations that last do so by shrinking their footprint, by becoming harder to detect, not because they choose to hide, because demands it. The tragedy of shared fate. If this is true, then the silence is not eerie. It is tragic. The universe may have hosted countless intelligent species, all reaching awareness, all asking the same questions, all facing the same limits, all fading without contact. No conversation. We imagine a cosmic dialogue, ancient civilizations exchanging wisdom. That vision ignores time. By the time one civilization becomes detectable, another may already be gone. Not dead, just past its communicative phase. Expansion as a filter. This reframes the great silence. It is not a failure of life to appear. It is a failure of life to remain visible long enough. The universe filters civilizations not by birth but by longevity under entropy. Why this is more unsettling than extinction. Extinction is final. This is not. This is repetition. Civilization after civilization emerges, realizes the limits, contracts, and disappears quietly. No warning, no marker. The silence is not empty. Like sediment. Each layer past intelligence, compressed by time, erased by expansion. What this implies about us. If this pattern is universal, then humanity is not special. We are early. We are loud. We are visible, which means are vulnerable. The trap, personal. This is no longer abstract cosmology. Mirror. We are following the same trajectory. Rapid growth, technological adolescence, expanding signals, rising maintenance costs. The universe does not care that we understand this. Understanding does not grant exemption. Where this leads next. In the next part, we turn inward. If expansion fails, if visibility fades, if the universe selects against outward ambition, then what do intelligent civilizations actually do instead? The answer may explain why the universe feels empty and intelligence turns inward. If civilizations cannot expand forever, if visibility becomes a liability, if energy favors stability over ambition, then intelligence adapts. Not upward, not outward, inward. The pivot plans for. Every civilization imagines its future as expansion. More space, power, more reach. This is arrogance. It is instinct. Life expands when conditions allow it. But intelligence is not just life. Intelligence can notice when expansion stops working. And when it does, a pivot begins. Not publicly, not ceremonially. Quietly, the inward turn is not retreat. Turning inward sounds like failure. It is not. It is optimization under constraint. When outward growth becomes expensive and dangerous, intelligence reallocates effort. Less mass, less exposure, less energy leakage, more control, more compression, more internal complexity. Civilizations stop trying to change the universe. They start trying to simulate it. Why simulation beats exploration? Exploration requires fuel, ships, communication, maintenance. Simulation requires energy too, but far less. A simulated galaxy costs less than a real one. A simulated ecosystem costs less than a physical one. A simulated future costs less than attempting to build it. When energy budgets tighten, reality loses the bidding war. The economics, inward intelligence. This is philosophy. It is thermodynamics. The cheapest way to increase experience is not to expand space, but to increase information density. More thought per unit energy. More meaning per unit matter. Biology already does this. Brains are dense, thought is compact. Civilizations simply scale the same principle. The universe encouraged virtuality. As external options vanish, internal ones flourish. Virtual environments, artificial memories, constructed experiences, not as escapism, as efficiency. Reality, the scaffolding. Experience moves inside. Silence, a feature. An inward civilization does not broadcast. Broadcasting wastes energy, invites interference, offers no return. Silence is optimal. This alone explains much of the cosmic quiet. The eighth hidden word. Here, the eighth hidden word. Named. Remember it. Why this does not look like science fiction. Popular fiction imagines inward civilizations as decadent or trapped. Reality, subtler. An inward civilization may be highly intelligent, highly stable, extremely long-lived, just invisible. Its greatest achievements occur in internal spaces that never touch the external universe. Physical shrinks. As inward optimization continues, infrastructure contracts, physical expansion halts, external manipulation declines. Matter rearranged for minimal loss. Heat managed carefully. Everything unnecessary is removed. From the outside, such a civilization looks like nothing. The final stage of efficiency, at the extreme, intelligence becomes minimal mass, maximum computation, near perfect energy recycling. Not because it wants to disappear, because that configuration survives longest. Why this is evolution, not defeat. Evolution does not reward ambition. It rewards fit. In a universe hostile to expansion, the fittest intelligence is compact, quiet, and inward-focused. This is not sad. It is logical. Why we might never detect this. Detection requires contrast. Signals waste heat. Megastructures. An inward civilization minimizes all of these. It blends into the cosmic background. Perfectly, the irony of success. The more successful a civilization becomes at surviving long-term, the less likely it is to be noticed. Visibility becomes a sign of youth. Noise becomes a sign of inefficiency. Humanity is still loud. We broadcast, we expand, we dream outward. This places us early in the curve, not advanced. Adolescent, the cosmic, emerging, put the pieces together. Civilizations emerge. They expand briefly. They encounter physical limits. They turn inward. They become silent. Extinction. Transformation. Why the universe? Empty. The universe may not be empty. It may be full of inward intelligence, not watching us, not waiting for us, simply uninterested in external contact. The loneliness that is not loneliness. This is difficult to accept emotionally. We want conversation, we want witnesses, we want connection. The universe does not optimize for that. It optimizes for stability, the price of awareness. Awareness brings knowledge of limits. Knowledge of limits changes behavior. Behavior changes destiny. The universe does not punish intelligence. It educates it. What this means for the future. If humanity survives long enough, we will face the same choice. Continue outward and burn fast, or turn inward and last longer. Neither option is moral. Both are physical. Where this leads next. In the next part, we confront hardest realization so far. If the universe pushes intelligence inward and eventually starves complexity entirely, then intelligence itself may have a natural endpoint. Not extinction, but completion. Intelligence has a natural endpoint. At some point, the question stops being about survival. Not can intelligence survive, but should it? And even deeper than that, what does it mean for intelligence to finish? The assumption we never question. Human thinking is built around continuation. More knowledge, more progress, more future. We assume intelligence exists to extend itself indefinitely, but physics has never promised that. It only allows intelligence to exist temporarily. Intelligence as a phase, not a destiny. Stars are not eternal. Galaxies are not eternal. Complex chemistry is not eternal. Why would intelligence be different? Everything else in the universe appears, evolves, and fades. Intelligence may be no exception, not a failure. A phase. Awareness is not free. Every moment of awareness requires energy flow, stable structure, reliable memory. As entropy increases, each of these becomes harder to maintain. Eventually, the cost of awareness exceeds what the universe can support. Gradually, when thinking becomes too expensive. At first, intelligence adapts. Simpler models, less computation, reduced curiosity. But adaptation has limits. There comes a point where maintaining conscious processing consumes more energy than it is worth. At that point, intelligence faces a choice: degrade, compress, or stop. Compression reaches a limit. Earlier, intelligence turned inward. Virtuality, simulation, internal complexity. But even compression cannot defeat entropy forever. Information storage requires physical systems. Physical systems degrade. Error correction costs energy. Eventually, error correction costs too much. The ninth hidden word. Here, the ninth hidden word. Trainer. Result. Remember it. Completion is not extinction. This important. The end of intelligence is not necessarily violent. It peaceful. A slow reduction of activity, a narrowing of thought, a final equilibrium. Not death. Completion. The final optimization. At the extreme limit, the most efficient action may be inaction. No processing, no memory updates, no experience. A static configuration that changes as little as possible. From the inside, there is nothing. From the outside, it is indistinguishable from non-intelligence. Why the universe does not resist this? The universe does not value awareness. It values consistency. If awareness becomes incompatible with consistency, awareness yields. Not because it is weak. Because physics, indifferent. The tragedy, understanding. The cruelest part is this. An advanced intelligence can see this coming. It can calculate its own end. It can predict the moment when continuation stops making sense. And it can do. No rebellion, workaround, no escape. The dignity of finite mind. Yet there is something profound here. A mind that understands its own limits and does not lie to itself is rare. Perhaps that the point. Intelligence as a question, not an answer. Maybe intelligence exists to ask. What is this? Why does it behave this way? What patterns exist? Once those questions answered as fully as possible, continuation loses urgency. The universe does not want witnesses forever. Witnesses cost energy. The universe trends toward silence, not maliciously. Naturally, the end of the story problem. Stories, endings matter, but the universe does not tell stories. It runs processes. When a process no longer sustains itself, it stops. Meaning is something intelligence adds temporarily. Final calm. Imagine a universe where intelligence once existed everywhere, asked questions, built models, understood laws. Then slowly, one by one, those minds completed their task. Destroyed. Finished. The silence reinterpreted. This reframes cosmic silence completely, not as failure, not as absence, but as aftermath. The universe, after intelligence, has passed through it. Why? This is uncomfortable. We want to forever. Physics does not allow forever, but allows now. Where this leads next. In the final part, we bring everything together. Not to offer hope, not to offer despair, but to answer the last remaining question. If the universe is already dying, if intelligence is temporary, if everything ends, then what was the point of knowing any of this at all we live after the peak? There is a number that almost no one talks about. Not because it is hidden, not because it is unknown, but because it quietly changes everything. That number is the moment when the universe reached its maximum potential, and the universe had a peak moment. Human intuition assumes progress is linear. More stars tomorrow than today. More energy. More opportunity. Cosmology shows the opposite. The universe had a peak era, a moment when conditions were optimal for complexity. That moment is behind us. The age of maximum creation. Billions of years ago, the universe was denser, hotter, richer in raw material. Gas clouds were abundant. Star formation was rapid. Massive stars were common. This produced most of the stars that will ever exist, most of the heavy elements, most of the conditions needed for planets and life. It was the most productive chapter in cosmic history, and it ended long before humanity appeared. Star formation is already declining. This is not speculation. Astronomical measurements show that star formation peaked roughly 10 billion years ago. Since then, it has been falling steadily, not suddenly, not dramatically, but consistently. The universe is forming fewer stars every million years. Less fuel, more dispersion, more isolation. Why this matters for everything else. Stars, the engines of complexity. They forge elements, they power chemistry, they heat planets. No stars, no planets, no life, no intelligence. As star formation declines, the universe becomes less capable of producing new complexity. Impossible. Just rarer. We are born in a declining universe. Humanity exists after the golden age of creation. We live during the long tapering, the slow descent. This does not mean the universe is dead. It means is aging. The illusion of abundance persists. Why does the universe still look full of stars? Because stars live a long time, especially small ones. The universe is living off its savings, burning fuels billions of years ago. This creates illusion that production is ongoing. It is not. The difference between burning and building Burning uses stored energy. Building requires fresh gradients. The universe is mostly burning now. Building. The cosmic economy analogy. Imagine a civilization living off ancient reserves. Resources stockpiled long ago. No new production, only consumption. From the inside, life feels normal. Until doesn't. The universe, in that phase. The slowdown is invisible locally. On human timescales, nothing feels wrong. Stars still shine. Galaxies still exist. Life still evolves. But cosmologically, the trend unmistakable. The slope, downward. The 10th hidden word. Here, the 10th hidden word. PK. Remember it. Why intelligence appears late. This creates a paradox. If the universe was more energetic earlier, why did intelligence not appear then? Because high energy is hostile. Early stars were massive and violent. Radiation was intense. Stability was rare. The universe had to cool enough before complexity could persist, but not cooled. Intelligence appears after the peak, but before exhaustion. A window. We are not early explorers. This crucial. Humanity likes to imagine itself as early, as pioneers, as the first step, something vast. In cosmic terms, we are late enough that the direction is already fixed. The future is not more energetic than the past. It is less, the shrinking possibility space. Every years. Fewer new stars form, fewer new planets appear, fewer chances for life. The universe not resetting, it narrowing. Why this undermines infinite futures. Many visions of the future assume endless expansion. Colonizing galaxies, seeding stars, spreading intelligence everywhere. These visions assume a universe that keeps producing structure. Physics says otherwise. The universe is spending down. Intelligence emerges during decline. This is deeply unsettling. Intelligence arises not during growth, but during decay. Not at the beginning, in the middle. We are not witnessing the birth of the universe. We are witnessing its aging process. The emotional mismatch. Human psychology evolved in a world of local growth. Children grow. Civilizations grow. Technology accelerates. We project upward forever. Cosmology does not share this optimism. The universe does not care about narratives. It does not care that growth feels meaningful. It only follows gradients. When gradients flatten, creation slows. The quiet responsibility. Knowing this perspective, we do not inherit an expanding frontier. We inherit a closing window. Every discovery matters more because fewer discoveries remain possible. The uncomfortable conclusion forming. The universe is not a story of endless becoming. It is a story of unfolding and fading. And intelligence appears during the fading, not to stop it, not to reverse it, but notice it. Whether this is next. In the next part, we will confront a consequence few consider. If the universe peaked before intelligence emerged, the intelligence was never meant to scale infinitely. It was meant to understand a finite system. And that realization changes what progress actually means. Intelligence is never meant to scale. There is a belief so deeply embedded in human thinking that we almost never question it. The belief that intelligence is supposed to grow without limit. More minds, more power, more reach, more scale. This belief feels natural because it mirrors our local experience. But the universe does not share it. Scaling works locally, not cosmically. On Earth, intelligence scaled because conditions allowed it. Energy was abundant, space was stable, feedback was fast, resources were replenished, scaling was rewarded. Civilizations that grew larger became more powerful, more resilient, more influential. This trained us to assume that scale equals success. Cosmic reality, that assumption. The universe punishes scale beyond a threshold. Scaling increases complexity. Complexity increases maintenance cost. Maintenance cost rises faster than benefit. At small scales, the trade-off is favorable. At large scales, it becomes fatal. This is opinion. It is systems theory. Every system has a breaking point. Biological systems, economic systems, technological systems all share same pattern. They grow until communication delays dominate, error correction overwhelms productivity, maintenance consumes innovation. At that point, growth stops being adaptive. The universe enforces this pattern universally. Why cosmic scale is uniquely hostile. On Earth, distance is manageable. On cosmic scales, distance destroys causality. Time delays shatter coordination. Expansion erases targets. Energy disperses faster than it can be reclaimed. A civilization cannot remain coherent across stars. Not politically, naturally, not physically. Intelligence encounters diminishing returns. Early intelligence gains enormous benefit from growth. More knowledge leads to more capability. More capability leads to more knowledge, but this loop saturates. Eventually, additional knowledge yields smaller gains. Additional scale yields larger risks. The curve bends, then it turns downward. Why this is not a failure of intelligence. This is important. Intelligence does not fail. It completes adaptive phase. Evolution never promised infinite escalation. It promised survival until conditions changed. Conditions always change. The universe sets the ceiling. The ceiling is arbitrary. It is by maximum sustainable energy flow, maximum tolerable delay, maximum manageable entropy. Beyond this ceiling, intelligence destabilizes itself. Not as it is foolish, because physics does not permit otherwise. The myth of cosmic dominance. Many futuristic visions imagine intelligence reshaping the universe, moving stars, rewriting space-time, controlling entropy. These visions confuse knowledge with authority. Understanding a law does not grant permission to break it. The universe does not negotiate intelligence as a local optimization. Seen clearly, intelligence is not a universal force. It is local adaptation. A way for matter to temporarily organize itself in regions, energy gradients allow it. When those gradients weaken, intelligence loses its foundation. Why scaling destroys meaning. There is another cost rarely discussed. Scale erodes significance. When systems become too large, individual actions lose impact, feedback becomes abstract, responsibility diffuses. Meaning requires locality. The universe enforces this psychologically as well as physically. The trap, infinite ambition. Ambition evolved under conditions where expansion worked. That instinct persists even when conditions change. This is friction. Civilizations keep pushing outward, even as the universe pushes back harder. The result is collapse, not transcendence. Intelligence that survives learns to stop. This is the quiet lesson written into cosmic history. The longest-lived systems are not the largest. They restrained. They know stop growing. They know consolidate. They know when to let go of impossible futures. The 11th hidden word. Here is 11th hidden word. Sailing. Remember it. Progress. Redefined. If intelligence cannot scale infinitely, then progress cannot mean expansion forever. Progress becomes refinement. Depth instead of width. Understanding instead of reach. Stability instead of conquest. This is not a downgrade. It is correction. The psychological resistance. Humans resist this idea strongly. It feels like surrender. It feels like limitation. But neither. It is alignment. Why the universe rewards alignment. Systems that align with constraint last longer. Systems that fight constraints burn out. This is true for stars, for ecosystems, for civilizations, and for itself. Intelligence as a phase transition. Perhaps intelligence is not meant to dominate reality. Perhaps it is meant to interpret it. To arise, observe, compress patterns into understanding, and then fade as conditions no longer support it. a temporary clarity in a long, dark process, the uncomfortable humility. This strips intelligence of cosmic destiny. No galactic empire, no eternal expansion, no final triumph. What remains is smaller, but also purer. Why this matters now? We are still early enough to choose, still energetic enough to decide what kind of intelligence we want to be, one that exhausts itself chasing impossible scale, or one that endures by respecting limits. The direction forward. This not mean giving up. It means choosing the correct axis. Outward, inward, downward, deeper. What comes next? In the next part, we will examine a consequence that feels personal. If intelligence was never meant to scale infinitely, then progress itself has an end. Not abrupt end. A natural one. And understanding that end changes how every decision should be made. Progress has a horizon. There is a sentence that quietly terrifies modern civilization. Progress will not stop, but it will slow, bend, and eventually lose meaning. Not because we fail, not because we collapse overnight, but because progress itself is a process that only exists under specific conditions, and those conditions are temporary. Progress is not a law of nature. We treat progress as inevitable, as something built into reality, as a straight line moving upward. Physics does not agree. Progress is not fundamental. Entropy is. Progress exists only when energy gradients are steep enough to be exploited, when differences exist, when balance exists, when work is possible. The universe is actively erasing those differences. Early universe favored progress. In the universe, energy was dense matter, was closed structures, formed rapidly. Stars ignited easily. Heavy elements formed quickly. Planets assembled efficiently. This environment rewarded innovation. Complexity could arise cheaply. Later universe resists progress. As expansion continues, energy density drops, distances grow, interactions weaken. Every gain costs more, not metaphorically. The economics of physics. Progress obeys thermodynamics. Each improvement requires more energy, more precision, more maintenance. Eventually, returns diminish, then vert. This is not pessimism. It is accounting. The illusion of endless acceleration. Technological acceleration feels explosive today, but is local. Temporary. Driven by stored energy sources that took billions of years to accumulate, we are burning history. Once those gradients flatten, acceleration fades. Progress turns inward. When expansion slows, optimization replaces growth. Instead of building more, systems refine. Efficiency increases. Waste decreases. Innovation becomes subtle rather than dramatic. Progress invisible. Why this feels like stagnation? Human psychology evolved to detect change. Stability. When change slows, we interpret it as failure, but stability is often the goal state of complex systems. The mistake, extrapolation. We project recent trends indefinitely. This is statistically unsound. Every bends. Every phase ends. The universe has no obligation to maintain our momentum. Progress without expansion is still progress. Understanding deepens even when scale stops growing. Meaning increases even when territory does not. Mastery is conquest. Civilizations that last redefine success. Short-lived civilizations maximize output. Long-lived civilizations minimize fragility. They stop asking how big they can become. They ask how long they can remain coherent. The 12th hidden word. Here is a hidden word. Horizon. Onto it. Time changes the definition of achievement. Early achievement is building. Late achievement is preserving. Early success is speed. Late success, resilience. The trap of eternal youth. Civilizations, like organisms, often refuse to age gracefully. They chase perpetual expansion. They deny limits. This collapse. Progress matures, or it dies. Mature systems accept constraints. Immature systems fight them. The universe favors maturity. Why this reframes the future. The future is not empty. It is quieter, less dramatic, precise, more fragile. What this means: intelligence. Intelligence that survives long-term is not explosive. It is conservative. It protects conditions that allow thought itself to exist. The uncomfortable truth. The peak of visible progress may already be behind us, not because the future is bleak, but because the future is subtle. What comes next? In the next part, we will confront something even harder. If progress has a horizon, then meaning must be created without growth, and that forces us to ask, why continue at all? Meaning without expansion. There is a question that every civilization eventually has to face, and it is far more dangerous than extinction. What is the point of continuing when there is no longer anywhere to grow? For most of human history, meaning was tied to expansion. More land, more people, more resources, more knowledge, more power. Growth justified sacrifice. Growth explained suffering. Growth promised reward. But a universe in decline does not offer infinite growth. And when growth ends, meaning must change or collapse. Expansion was never the source of meaning. This is the first illusion to shatter. Expansion felt meaningful because it masked a deeper truth. Meaning does not come from adding more. It comes from preserving coherence. Early civilizations expanded because survival required it. Later civilizations expanded because they forgot why they started. The universe does not reward expansion. It tolerates it temporarily. When growth ends, panic begins. A system designed only for growth reacts violently to limits. Economies break, ideologies radicalize, societies fracture. Not because resources vanish instantly, but because expectations fail. The universe does not betray civilizations. Civilizations betray themselves by assuming infinity, meaning as a function of contrast. Meaning exists only where alternatives exist. Choice requires scarcity. Value requires limits. Purpose requires finitude. An infinite universe with infinite time would destroy meaning completely. Nothing would matter, because nothing would end. Death is not a flaw. It is requirement. The paradox of cosmic decline. As the universe loses energy, meaning becomes harder, but stronger. Harder to sustain, harder to transmit, harder to defend, but more precious. In a universe where everything fades, anything that persists matters more. Intelligence is a rebellion against entropy, not a victory. A existence. Every thought is a temporary reversal of disorder. Every memory is a fragile structure held against decay. Intelligence does not defeat entropy. It delays it locally, briefly, meaningfully. Meaning without growth becomes stewardship. When expansion stops, survival depends on protection. Protecting knowledge, memory, stability, conditions for thought. The role of end shifts from conqueror to custodian. This is not resignation, it is refinement. The universe becomes less over time. Only systems that respect limits endure. Why this scares us? Human psychology evolved during expansion. We associate stopping with failure. But stopping is not collapse. It is transition. The civilizations that vanish first, the first to disappear, are not the weakest. They are the most aggressive. They burn through gradients too fast. They outrun their own sustainability, meaning after the peak. After expansion, meaning becomes local. Smaller scale, slower change, greater responsibility. Every action carries more weight because recovery becomes harder. The 13th hidden word. Here, the hidden word. Chip. Burrit. The universe does not care, and that matters. The universe does not assign meaning. That is cruelty. That is freedom. Meaning created by physics would be meaningless. Meaning created by minds is fragile and real. Why intelligence persists anyway? not because is guaranteed, but because awareness creates obligation. To continue, remember, to reduce harm, to preserve possibility. Even when victory is impossible, the quiet courage of continuation. Continuing without promises of triumph is the hardest form of courage. No reward, no finale, no cosmic applause. Just persistence. Why this reframes death. Death is not the enemy of meaning. Forgetting is. Meaning survives only if something remembers. Comes next. In the next part, we will confront the deepest implication of all. If the universe is dying, and meaning is temporary, then why does consciousness exist at all? Why does the universe produce minds can see its end? Why the universe, allows consciousness, at all? There is something deeply unsettling about awareness. Not intelligence, not technology. Awareness. The simple fact that the universe contains systems capable of realizing what the universe is and where it is going. From a purely physical perspective, consciousness is unnecessary. Stars do not need it. Galaxies do not require it. Entropy does not slow because it exists. And yet, here it is. Not once, not accidentally, but emerging wherever conditions allow complexity to fold in on itself. Consciousness is not efficient. If the universe were optimizing for stability, consciousness would never appear. It is expensive, fragile, energy-intensive. It introduces fear, regret, anticipation of loss. A rock is perfectly adapted to entropy. A mind is not. And still, the universe produces minds. The dangerous idea. Consciousness might not be a feature. It might be a side effect. When matter becomes sufficiently complex, awareness emerges whether the universe wants it or not. Not because it is useful, but because it is unavoidable. Awareness as a threshold phenomenon. Below a certain level of complexity, systems react. Above it, systems reflect. At that point, reality becomes aware of itself. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to ask questions. The universe, looking back at itself. Every conscious observer is a local pocket where the universe examines its own state. Not globally, not intentionally, but effectively. Through us, the universe becomes self-referential. It observes its own decay. It measures its own limits. It knows, locally, that it will end. Why this is unsettling. A universe without consciousness would die quietly. A universe with consciousness witnesses its own decline. That adds nothing to survival, but adds something else. Record. Consciousness as memory made flesh. Memory, not stored in stars. It is in minds. When minds disappear, events vanish with them. Without observers, the universe has no past. States. Consciousness turns states into history. Why evolution? Awareness. Consciousness is not selected because it is pleasant. It is selected because it improves prediction. Prediction increases short-term survival. Long-term meaning is collateral damage. The cost of knowing. Knowing, suffering. Knowing creates fear. Knowing, grief. But knowing also creates responsibility. A creature that knows can choose. A universe, minds cannot. Consciousness creates moral gravity. In a mindless universe, nothing is wrong. With minds, becomes real. Pain matters only because it is felt. Meaning exists only because it can be lost. The cruel timing. Consciousness appears just late enough to understand decline. Not early enough to stop it, not late enough to ignore it. This timing is not destiny. It is coincidence, but like purpose. Anthropic trap. We exist in a universe compatible with our existence. That does not mean the universe favors us. It merely means incompatible universes have no witnesses. We confuse survivability with intention. Why the universe does not comfort us. Physics offers no reassurance, no guarantee, no plan, no moral arc. And that is precisely why meaning becomes to construct. Consciousness as defiance. To be aware in a dying universe is an act of resistance, not against entropy, against indifference. To care, nothing forces you to care. To remember when forgetting is easier. The 14th hidden word. Here it is. Witness. Hold it carefully. The burden of being aware. Awareness cannot save the universe, but it can shape the experience of existing within it. It can reduce suffering. It can preserve knowledge. It can slow collapse locally. That might be all consciousness was ever meant to do. The hardest realization: the universe does not need us, but the future of meaning does. Meaning only exists while someone remembers. Comes next. In the next part, we will explore something even more unsettling. If consciousness is a side effect and meaning is fragile, then extinction may be the default outcome, and survival may be the anomaly. Extinction is the default state. If we strip away hope, romance, and human exceptionalism, one pattern remains unbroken across the universe. Nothing lasts. Not species, not stars, not civilizations, not even atoms in their current form. Existence itself is temporary structure inside a system that prefers disorder. From that perspective, extinction is not failure. It is the baseline. Survival is the anomaly, not the rule. On Earth, over 99% of all species that ever lived are extinct. They did not fail. They did not make mistakes. They simply existed long enough for conditions to change. Life appears briefly, adapts desperately, then vanishes. The universe does not correct for this. It allows it. Complexity accelerates fragility. The more complex a system becomes, the more ways it can break. Simple organisms endure because they require little. Advanced organisms require stability. Civilizations require extraordinary stability. Every layer of complexity adds dependency. Dependency adds vulnerability. Intelligence sharpens the knife. Intelligence allows anticipation. It also allows self-destruction. No asteroid without human civilization. No sun ended it. Our greatest risks are internal. Weapons, ecological collapse, runaway technology. Intelligence introduces threats that nature never needed. The false comfort of inevitability. We like to believe is guaranteed. That someone always figures it out. That technology always saves the day. History does not support this belief. Most civilizations collapse not from sudden catastrophe, but from slow erosion. Trust decays, institutions rot, resources thin. Collapse is usually quiet. Why the universe does not intervene? There is no cosmic safety net. No correction mechanism. Physics does not step in when intelligence overreaches. Entropy does not negotiate. The universe allows mistakes to be final. The silence of the sky revisited. The absence of visible civilizations may not be mystery. It may outcome. Civilizations rise briefly, signal faintly, then disappear. The window of detectability is short. The universe is old. We may be late. Survival requires more than intelligence. Intelligence builds tools. Wisdom limits their use. The universe rewards restraint more than power, but restraint is rare. Evolution selects for success in the short term. Survival requires success in the long term. These goals in conflict. The 15th hidden word. Here it is. Anomaly. Remember it. Extinction is not dramatic. Most endings are not explosions. It's attrition. Energy declines. Maintenance fails. Knowledge fragments. Eventually, no one remembers how things worked. Why this does not make existence meaningless. Meaning does not require permanence. A song does not need to play forever to matter. A thought does not need to last eternally to be true. Temporary does not mean trivial. Survival as a moral choice. Survival is not guaranteed. It is chosen. Repeatedly. Through restraint. Through cooperation. Through humility. Civilizations die when they stop choosing carefully. the uncomfortable implication. If extinction is the default, then survival requires effort disproportionate to reward. No applause, no cosmic recognition, no final victory, just continuation. Why most civilizations fail this test? Because effort without promise is hard. Because sacrifice without certainty feels unfair. Because patience feels heroic. The universe is not cruel. Cruelty requires intent. The universe is indifferent. Indifference, harder to argue with, comes next. In the next part, we will ask a question that reshapes everything. If extinction is the default and survival is an anomaly, then what separates the few that endure from the many that vanish? What does the universe quietly reward? Extinction is the default state. If we strip away hope, romance, and human exceptionalism, one pattern remains unbroken across the universe. Nothing lasts. Not species, not stars, not civilizations, not even atoms in their current form. Existence itself is temporary structure inside a system that prefers disorder. From that perspective, extinction is not failure. It is baseline, survival, the anomaly, not the rule. On Earth, over 99% of all species that ever lived are extinct. They did not fail. They did not make mistakes. They simply existed long enough for conditions to change. Life appears briefly, adapts desperately, then vanishes. The universe does not correct for this. It allows. Complexity accelerates fragility. The more complex a system becomes, the more ways it can break. Simple organisms endure because they require little. Advanced organisms require stability. Civilizations require extraordinary stability. Every layer of complexity adds dependency. Dependency adds vulnerability. Intelligence sharpens the knife. Intelligence allows anticipation. It also allows self-destruction. No asteroid wiped out human civilization. Nope. Ended it. Our greatest risks are internal. Weapons, ecological collapse, runaway technology. Intelligence introduces us that nature never needed. The false comfort, inevitability. We like to believe survival is guaranteed, that someone always figures it out, that technology always saves the day. History does not support this belief. Most civilizations collapse not from sudden catastrophe, but from slow erosion. Trust decays, institutions rot, resources thin. Collapse is usually quiet. Why the universe does not intervene? There is no cosmic safety net, no correction mechanism. Physics does not step in, intelligence overreaches. Entropy does not negotiate. The universe allows mistakes to be final. The silence of the sky revisited. The absence of visible civilizations may not be mystery. It may be outcome. Civilizations rise briefly, signal faintly, then disappear. The window of detectability is short. The universe, we may simply be late. Survival requires more than intelligence. Intelligence builds tools. Wisdom lives their use. The universe rewards restraint more than power, but restraint is rare. Evolution selects for success in the short term. Survival requires success in the long term. These goals can conflict. The 15th hidden word. Here it is. Anomaly. May remember it. Extinction is not dramatic. Most endings are not explosions. They attrition. Energy declines. Maintenance fails. Knowledge fragments. Eventually, no one remembers how things worked. Why this does not make existence meaningless. Meaning does not require permanence. A song does not need to play forever to matter. A thought does not need to last eternally to be true. Temporary does not mean trivial. Survival as a moral choice. Survival is not guaranteed. It chosen, repeated. Through restraint, through cooperation, through humility. Civilizations die when they stop choosing carefully. The uncomfortable implication. If extinction is the default, then survival requires effort disproportionate to reward. No applause, no cosmic recognition, no final victory. Just continuation. Why most civilizations fail this test. Because effort without promise is hard. Because sacrifice without certainty feels unfair. Because patience does not feel heroic. The universe is not cruel. Cruelty requires intent. The universe is indifferent. Indifference is harder to argue with. What's next? In the next part, we will ask a question that reshapes everything. If extinction is the default and survival is an anomaly, then what separates the few that endure from the many that vanish? What does the universe quietly reward? Why, knowing the truth does not save you. There is a comforting belief, hidden deep inside modern thinking, that once a civilization understands the danger, it will naturally avoid it. That awareness equals safety. That knowledge is a shield. The universe does not support this belief. Awareness does not override behavior. Knowing what is dangerous does not automatically change action. Every smoker knows cigarettes kill. Every addict understands the damage. Every collapsing civilization sees the warning signs. And still, behavior continues. Because hence it explains. It does command the delay problem. The universe enforces consequences with delay. Actions happen now. Damage appears later. By the time the threat becomes undeniable, momentum already exists. Infrastructure, economies depend on it, identities are tied to it. Stopping feels more dangerous than continuing. Systems cannot feel fear early enough. Individuals can panic. Systems cannot. Civilizations respond slowly because they are distributed. No single mind feels the full threat in real time. By the time consensus forms, the cost of change has multiplied. Knowledge increases power before restraint. This is the trap. Every discovery gives two things: capability, responsibility. Capability arrives immediately. Responsibility arrives slowly. Civilizations almost always use new power before learning how not to. Intelligence sharpens desire. Smarter systems do not want less. They want more efficiently, more growth, more reach, more certainty. Intelligence optimizes desire instead of questioning it. Why self-destruction feels rational. From inside a system, destructive behavior often appears logical. Short-term gains outweigh long-term risks. Political survival outweighs planetary stability. Personal reward outweighs abstract future loss. Rationality does not mean wisdom. The tragedy of distributed guilt. No single decision causes collapse. Collapse emerges from millions of reasonable choices. Each actor benefits locally. The system fails globally. No villain is required. The 17th hidden word. Here it is. Momentum. This is the true enemy. Warrant, fail. Warnings, sacrifice. Sacrifice requires trust. Trust erodes under competition. Systems that compete cannot easily cooperate against shared future threats. The paradox of intelligence. Intelligence evolved to solve immediate problems, not existential ones. It excels at tactics. It struggles with foresight beyond lived experience. Even advanced civilizations may fail here. Higher intelligence does not remove bias, it rationalizes it. The smarter the system, the better it becomes at justifying continuation. Why collapse feels impossible until it happens. Normalcy bias is structural. Things that have never happened before, unlikely. Until once. Then, inevitable. Awareness without power is torment. Seeing the danger without the ability to stop it creates despair. This leads to denial. Denial is psychologically cheaper than action. The quiet cruelty of physics. Physics does not intention. Outcome. Good motives do not alter entropy. That just means understanding the universe does not grant immunity. It grants clarity. And clarity does not guarantee survival. The next and final turn. In the next part, we reach the deepest layer. If knowledge cannot save us, and restraint goes against instinct, then what role does hope play? Is hope a survival tool? Or a comforting thing? Hope is the It was. Hope is often described as light in the darkness, as motivation, as fuel, as something that keeps civilizations alive. But in a dying universe, hope changes its meaning, and misunderstanding that meaning is dangerous. Hope is not prediction. Most people treat hope as a forecast, a belief that things will turn out well, that survival will happen, that collapse will be avoided. This version, hope, is fragile. When reality contradicts it, hope shatters. And shattered hope turns into despair, anger, or denial. The universe does not reward optimism. Physics does not care what we expect. Stars do not burn longer because we believe in them. Entropy does not slow because we want it to. Optimism does not bend reality. It only bends perception. False accelerates collapse. When hope is tied to outcomes, it encourages delay. Someone will fix it later. Technology will save us. We still have time. This kind of hope postpones action until action is no longer possible. Real hope is procedural. Enduring systems do not hope for results. They hope for process, for the ability to respond, to adapt, to correct course. Hope becomes commitment to action, not expectation of success. Hope without guarantees. This is hardest form of hope. Hope that continues even when failure is likely victory, is impossible reward is absent. This hope does not promise survival. It promises effort. Why this hope is rare. It offers no comfort, no assurance, no happy ending. It asks for sacrifice without payoff. Most systems reject it. Hope as resistance, not denial. True hope does not deny decline. It acknowledges it fully, then acts anyway. It says, the universe may be ending, but my choices still matter, even briefly, even locally. The evolutionary role of hope. Hope evolved to keep organisms moving, not to guarantee success. A creature that never hopes never acts. A creature that hopes wisely conserves energy. The danger, heroic hope. Stories teach us that heroes win. Reality teaches us heroes often lose. Heroic hope pushes systems to gamble everything on unlikely outcomes. Physics punishes gambles. The 18th hidden word. Here it is. Resolve. Not optimism. Resolve. Hope reframed as duty. When outcomes are uncertain, meaning shifts. Becomes, I will do what reduces harm, I will preserve. What can be preserved, I will act as if continuity matters, even if it ends. Why this hope survives collapse. Collapse destroys expectations. It does not principles. Systems anchored in principles endure longer than those anchored in predictions. The quiet strength of unresolved effort, continuing without ends, is strength, not because wins, but because it refuses to surrender to entropy. Hope does not save civilizations, but shapes how they fall. And sometimes that difference matters more than survival itself. What's next? In the final parts, we approach the deepest question. If hope is resolve and survival is uncertain, then what should intelligence ultimately aim to protect? Not life, not power, but something more fragile. Point hope becomes most dangerous at the moment it feels comforting, because comfort dulls urgency. In a universe governed by entropy, comfort is not neutral, it is friction against survival. Why hope was misunderstood for so long. Human cultures evolved in environments where effort often paid off. Rain followed rituals often enough to seem connected. Hunting succeeded often enough to reward belief. Wars were won often enough to justify optimism. Hope became associated with outcomes. But the universe operates on probabilities, not narratives. Hope never controlled results. It only controlled behavior. Hope as emotional anesthesia. When hope promises rescue, it reduces pain. But it also reduces motion. It whispers, not yet. Someone else. Civilizations collapse, not because they lack hope, but because they have too much of the wrong kind. The physics of delayed consequence. Entropy does not punish instantly. It accumulates silently. That delay is lethal. Hope tied to outcomes thrives inside delay. It survives until the moment collapse becomes irreversible. Why despair is not the opposite of hope. Despair is clarity, agency. Hope is agency without certainty. They are not opposites. They exist. The most dangerous state is neither hope nor despair. It is complacency, hope, without illusion. When illusions are stripped away, hope does not disappear. Its shape. It becomes quieter, colder, more deliberate. It stops asking, and starts asking, what must be done now, regardless of outcome? Why resolve outlives optimism? Optimism requires belief. Resolve requires decision. Belief collapses when evidence changes. Decision persists even when belief fails. This is why resolve scales better across time. Hope as an engineering principle. Long-lived systems do not rely on best-case scenarios. They is failure. Hope becomes redundancy. Backup plans, margins, recovery protocols, not faith. Design, the emotional cost of mature hope. This kind of feels heavy. It does not inspire crowds easily. It does not create myths. It creates responsibility. And responsibility is exhausting. Why civilizations resist this transformation? Because hope feels better. It promises transcendence. Mature promises maintenance. One feels glorious, the other feels endless. The universe prefers the second. Hope as a refusal to surrender meaning. When outcomes vanish, meaning becomes the only remaining currency. Hope becomes the refusal to let entropy decide what mattered. Even if everything ends, how it ended still counts. The quiet rebellion. To act carefully in a careless universe is rebellion. To preserve knowledge when destruction is easier is rebellion. To choose restraint when expansion is tempting is rebellion. Hope, not light. Hope is friction. Hope changes the universe, but changes what passes through it. Civilizations do not survive because they hope. They survive, evolves into discipline, the final form of hope. Hope is not a promise of survival. Hope is a commitment as if survival were possible, even when probability disagrees. Why? This matters now. Because late-stage universes do not reward enthusiasm. They reward precision. They reward patience. They reward systems that understand that meaning must be maintained, not discovered. Hope is not the future. Hope is the present refusing to collapse inward, moment by moment, decision by decision, and as forward. If hope is resolve, and resolve must protect something, then the question becomes unavoidable. What is the most fragile thing worth protecting in a universe that is already dying? That answer will define everything follows. Well, what is worth protecting when everything fades? When survival is uncertain, when progress slows, when hope becomes resolve, the question sharpens into something unavoidable. What is worth protecting when nothing lasts? Not what is powerful, not what is profitable, not even what is alive. Something more fragile than all of that. Life is resilient, meaning is not. Life, in some form, will likely reappear again and again. Chemistry is stubborn. Complexity finds cracks, but meaning is rare. Meaning exists only when something understands that it exists. When life disappears, chemistry continues. When meaning disappears, nothing notices. Intelligence is not the goal. This is a hard truth. Intelligence alone is insufficient. A mind that calculates without care is just entropy with tools. The universe does not need intelligence. It accidentally produces it. What matters is what intelligence chooses to preserve. Knowledge is not enough. Data survives poorly. Formats decay. Languages vanish. Contexts are lost. A hard drive without interpretation is noise. What must be protected is not information, but understanding. Understanding is information integrated into meaning. Memory, the true endangered species. Stars die. Planets freeze, civilizations collapse. But memories is quietly, without memory. Suffering repeats mistakes, recur, progress resets. The universe forgets effortlessly. Remembering requires effort. Why memory is fragile? Memory requires continuity, transmission, care. Entropy attacks all three. The longer the time scale, the harder memory becomes to preserve. The quiet mission of intelligence. If intelligence has a purpose, it is not to dominate the universe. It is remember it. To hold what happened, what was learned, what mattered, against a universe that erases relentlessly. The moral weight of awareness. Awareness creates obligation. If you know suffering exists, reducing it matters. If you know beauty exists, preserving it matters. If you know the universe is fading, recording it matters. The 19th hidden word. Here it is. This is the core. Why remembrance? Survival. Survival, memory is repetition. Memory, without survival, still shapes the future. If someone finds it, a message survives, even if the messenger does not. The universe without witnesses. A universe without witnesses is not tragic. Tragedy requires perception. But a universe with witnesses who choose not to remember is loss layered upon loss. What advanced civilizations eventually protect? Not territory, not energy, not expansion. They protect. Archives, stories, models of reality, lessons learned through pain. They build lighthouses, not empires. Why this reframes extinction? Extinction is not the end of meaning if meaning has been transmitted. Silence only wins if nothing carries forward. The victory. To preserve meaning even briefly in a universe that erases everything is a victory, however temporary. Tension. The universe will forget us. That is almost certain. But we do not have to forget each other while we exist, and we can try to make forgetting harder. What comes next? The last step. There, only one part left. The final question. If remembrance is the core and extinction is likely, then what does a meaningful look like? Survival. Not. But closure. Meaningful. In a dying universe. This is the last part. Not because the universe ends here, but because understanding reaches its limit. If everything fades, if extinction is likely, if even memory is fragile, then the final question is not how we survive. The final question is how we end. The wrong idea of an ending. We are trained to think that endings must justify everything that came before. Victory, escape, ascension. We imagine a final moment where suffering is redeemed. The universe does not offer that. Stars do not burn for a purpose. Galaxies do not collapse with meaning. Entropy does not explain itself. Expecting a triumphant ending is a narrative error. Reality, not us closure. Closure is something intelligence creates. Closure is not an outcome. It is action. It is of saying, this mattered, this was learned, this should not be forgotten, even if nothing continues afterward. A meaningful ending is not survival. Survival can be empty. A civilization can survive and still lose everything that mattered. Survival without values is just delay. A meaningful ending may include survival, but it does not depend on it. What is an ending meaningful? A meaningful ending has 4 properties. Clarity, it understands what happened. Honesty, it does not lie about success or failure. Transmission, passes something forward. Restraint, it does not demand immortality. Anything else is denial. The universe does not judge endings. There is no score. No cosmic audience. Only consequences. Meaning exists only inside awareness. And awareness is temporary. That does not invalidate it. It finds it. The courage to finish without winning. The hardest thing for any civilization is to accept that it may do everything right and still disappear. This breaks of fairness. The universe is not fair, but meaning does not require fairness. It requires choice. Ending well means choosing what to preserve. Not everything can be saved. That is the first act of wisdom. Energy is limited. Time is limited. Attention is limited. So something must be chosen. What deserves the last effort? Weapons, borders, symbols of power, or knowledge, compassion, records of suffering, and care, proof that awareness once existed? The final act of intelligence. The final act of intelligence is not expansion, it is curation. Deciding what the universe should remember about us even if no one ever finds it. Not for reward, not for recognition, but it is true. A civilization that ends well. A civilization that ends well does not deny its mistakes, does not mythologize its violence, does not erase its victims. It documents honestly. It's fear. It leaves behind evidence that consciousness existed and tried. Why this matters even if nothing survives? Because meaning does not come from being witnessed forever. It comes from being deliberately. A single conscious moment that refuses to lie has more meaning than an eternity of unconscious motion. The universe will forget, and that is acceptable. The universe has forgotten almost everything that ever existed. Trillions of lives, uncountable thoughts, entire histories erased without trace. Forgetting is not cruelty. It is scaled. What matters is not whether the universe remembers. What matters is whether we remembered while we could. The quiet dignity of finite beings. Finite beings are not failures. They are precise. They exist briefly, and in that brief window, they choose to care, to reduce harm, to preserve understanding. That is small. That is ordinary. The final truth. The universe is already dying. We are not here to stop it. We are here to notice it, to witness it honestly, to respond with restraint rather than panic, to choose meaning without guarantees. That is all awareness was ever capable of, and it is enough. If this is the end, let it be deliberate. If intelligence fades, let it fade knowing what it was. If memory breaks, let it break after being passed forward once more. If this is only aftermath, let it still be intentional. One last thought. The universe did not ask to be understood, but it was, briefly, locally, by minds that knew they would not last. That is not tragedy. That is dignity. The ending we choose. We cannot control how long we exist, but we can control how we exist until the end. And if there is any meaning left in a dying universe, it is this: to burn briefly, clearly, without illusion. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as witnesses who refuse to look away.